Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. I know some of you are participating from Japan, from maybe China, and also from Canada. Thank you so much, and also from Mexico. Thank you so much for your participation. Um, I am Hikari Ishido, Professor of Economics at Chiba University, Japan. And today we have invited two excellent seminar speakers. Okay, so please clap our hands. Let's clap our hands to welcome them. Professor, Patrick Charlton to your right. And then Professor Chris Castillo, both from Algonquin College in Ottawa, Canada. And then let me just put up my PowerPoint file, and actually their presentation file for introduction purpose. So this is the slide that they have kindly provided. So this one is Japanese version. Andこれぜひご覧くださればと思いましてですね、パンデミック後の構成社会における企業術と、This is about, in English, move to the next page, hybrid seminar on how to start up a business in a post-pandemic fair society. ね、so we have about 2 hours, 10 to noon in Japan time. So universal time coordinated plus 9. So this is Japan's time zone. So we have 2 hours, and please ask questions because the professors are here to take up your questions and answering your questions. So the audience might not be that big, but this is okay. Please, ask them any question about how to start up your own business. All right. And then we live in this fairness-oriented society, especially after the pandemic. During the pandemic period, we needed to collaborate with each other in terms of business, in terms of going to school, in terms of staying home, for example. So we needed some kind of a social lesson on how to collaborate in a fair manner, equitable manner. So that's why, especially after the COVID-19, fair society concept is very important for our business. ビジネスをやるときもですね、このフェアネス、公正さっていうのはすごく大事になってきますので、ぜひそういった立場からもですね、このお二人の先生、パトリック・チャールトン先生、それからクリス・カツティーヨ先生にお話しいただきたいと思っています。So for the first, maybe 20 minutes each, so maybe 40 minutes, in total, if the two professors could speak about how to start up a business, especially from a Canadian perspective. カナダの事例ではありますけれども、お二人ともビジネススクールのプロの方ですから、本当にプロフェッショナルとして、カナダではこうしてます。そして、これは世界的にも同じことではないでしょうかという、そのベーシックなところから、含めてですね、起業の仕方、起業の仕方について、そして公正社会とはどうあるべきか、ということについて、お話しいただけたらと思っています。基本的には、英語なんですけれども、私の方でですね、チャットラインのところに、タイプをさせていただいて、完全ではありませんけれども、こういうことをおっしゃってますとか、ね。それからですね、このパワーポイントも後ですぐこの後お送りいたしますので、そこに日本語の、少しの翻訳も入れましたので、ぜひそれもご参照いただけましたらと思います。Okay, so, thank you so much. So let's just pass on to both of the professors from Algonquin College. So the floor is already yours, is that right? Thank you very much. So clap our hands, welcome them.
Thank you so much for having us, Professor Hikari Shido-san. Thank you so much. And to you and the hospitality of Chiba University for arranging this this meeting and event. We're really excited to be here. So what we're going to do is And thank you for setting the rules of engagement for this session as well. So as Professor Ishido has mentioned, we're going to introduce ourselves first, give you a little bit of background, not too long, but just so you know where we come from professionally, and maybe a little bit of personal information. And then we're going to go into some prepared points to discuss best practices for entrepreneurs starting a business in a post-COVID environment. So with that, we're going to just introduce ourselves. With that, and I'll start off, and then I'll pass the torch to my partner, Professor Castillo. So if we can move to the next slide, it has a bit of a picture of okay, I can do that too. Yeah, just a little picture of a few points to give you an idea of my background. 12 years at Algonquin College as a professor in the School of Business, primarily focusing on entrepreneurship, professional selling in a business-to-business environment, marketing, retail, as well as the B2B, business management. I am currently focused on more of the sales topic, so selling, and we have a specific postgraduate program that's brand new at the college because our industry in Canada is demanding more sales skills from our students, and there seems to be a growing interest for students to upgrade their selling abilities to be able to help companies generate more revenue. So that is what I am currently focused on right now as far as a professor, and I'm also the coordinator of that program. So that's kind of just what I'm doing at the college. But from my entrepreneurship side, because this is what we're here to talk about, is I do have an entrepreneurial background. I did start a food business when I was quite younger than I am today. After college, started a food business for 5 years and grew that, had employees, and it was a catering style business. So I had an early introduction to entrepreneurship. I've since moved into the services side from a consulting services business, primarily in the sales marketing space. So I help companies with their own sales strategy and process. So I do that as well currently to teaching, which is great because it helps bring in the industry knowledge back to our students. So it keeps things fresh or on point with what's actually happening in industry. So that's my professional maybe snapshot, and a bit of maybe just outside the teaching and the entrepreneurship. I'm very interested in working with different projects to help align students with more meaningful work. So that can come in a variety of competitions, special events, boot camps. So I'm very active at the campus from that regard. Case in point is we're here in Japan because we showed interest in doing a bit more outside of the our primary function at the college and helping the relationships with our two schools. So we're happy to be here and represent Algonquin College as well. And then from a personal note, I do enjoy family time. I have two kids, 19 and 17. Alex is 19, Vanessa is 17. We enjoy skiing, as you can see. Not too much skiing this year. We didn't get too much snow this year. I do like drumming as well, music, and I like to cook. So that's just a little bit about me. So I'll pass it on to my colleague, Professor Chris Castillo, for his introduction. Thanks for having me and us.
Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you to Chiba University for organizing this, and feel really happy and we want to be able to give you as much value as possible, and we welcome questions as well too. Please, it's the only way to be able to have an interactive dialogue and communication. So my name is Chris Castillo. I'm originally from Chile, South America. I was born in the northern part of Philly, Antofagasta, and people ask me, where did you learn how to be an entrepreneur? And I always say, my mom and I, when we were in Chile, we had to learn how to survive. The government was poor. There was no, if you don't work, you don't eat. It's simple as that. So you have to learn to be an entrepreneur to be able to survive. And that's really where I learned how to be an entrepreneur. So my mom and I could survive and eat for the day. And then we moved to Canada, and we were in Vancouver. And in Vancouver, that's where I started a lot of businesses. I started over 10 businesses. We did jean manufacturing, film company, coffee shop, internet business, restaurant, a bunch of businesses. And that was in Vancouver. And then I was doing national consulting. I worked with the United Nations, and I kept on going to Ottawa. And so that's where I went to move. I moved to Ottawa to do my businesses there, and the college. They heard about me and they asked me to go and teach international business. So I said yes. And I joined the college to teach international business and then to teach entrepreneurship. And right now, me and my family, my wife and my 3 children, we live in Ottawa, and I teach, and I have some businesses, and I continue to travel around the world. I go to Dubai, I go to the Middle East a lot, the US, to do consulting. So that's a little bit about me. And on the personal side, I just like Patrick, I play an instrument. I play the guitar, and we play in a rock band, and we try to play at least once a month, different shows throughout Ottawa.
And I want to stress I'm an amateur drummer, not professional like Chris Castillo. He's more professional. He's up there in the playing concerts. So you want to move forward on the major points? Okay, so with that, thank you again for having us, and thanks for bearing with our introductions. Just so you know a little bit more about our background. So I'm just going to tap. Okay, I think that's it. Yep.
Yeah, that's it.
So these are the main points that we want to discuss today. So we're going to go back and forth discussing some of these points. So I can just read them throughout. We have, we want to discuss having a POP, passionate, opportunistic, and persistent mental attitude towards your pursuits in entrepreneurship and starting a business. Important to determine your strengths and weaknesses. We're going to discuss a bit of that, as well as moving into finding a solution for a problem. There's something blocking there. Oh, there it is. Okay. And defining a customer, as well as is something we're going to focus on. We want to create a value proposition, and we're going to then move into having the importance of having a plan. So after you've developed those 4 points, you want to move into formalizing your ideas. And then there's the logistics of registering your business, understanding regulations. We all come from different parts of the world here, so that's going to be more specific to your region, as well as registering your business, as mentioned. So these are the kind of the key elements we wanted to focus our conversation around. But again, we are open to different challenges or questions you may have throughout. So feel free to please put them in the chat line or raise your hand, etc. Okay, so with that, I'm going to pass the baton to Chris to talk about the first point.
Sure. So the first point I want to talk to you about is called pop. And pop is kind of like if you have a balloon and then you have a needle and you poke it, goes pop, right? In Canada as well too, a pop is also like a soft drink, like let's say Coca-Cola or Pepsi. We say I like a pop, Coca-Cola or Pepsi. So when I'm teaching entrepreneurship, I find that the acronym POP sticks to the minds of the students. Maybe they like that. So with POP, number 1 is passionate. And passionate means that you have to have the interest in the business that you would like to get involved in. And that passion, you need it because it's the motivation. It will help you get up in the morning, and it will also help you to continue at nighttime while you're doing your business. And if you're not passionate, then your motivation goes down. And then it becomes harder and harder to do something because you're not interested. you don't have the passion. And so when you have the passion, it becomes easier to be able to sell and be able to do business because people can feel your energy, right? For me, teaching is something that I'm passionate about. I just teach and I get up and teach, but I'm passionate about it. And so I find that my time sometimes goes really quick. And I'm like, oh, it's time for a break. But I just, I keep on talking about it because I'm really passionate about it. So the point number one with pop is you want to make sure that you have a passion and it's something that you are interested in. And if you're not interested in it, then maybe it's not a good idea. And some students, maybe they want to get involved in a business because the family, that's their family business. But if they don't have no passion, then they're not going to have the motivation to continue to do this, to do good. That's number one. Number two is being opportunistic. And what that means is that you have to look around and see the opportunities. And you have to see the opportunities where people don't know that the opportunities are there. But you have to find those opportunities in the marketplace, right? And for that means you're constantly always looking around for opportunities to make a product or service and make it better, faster, cheaper, more convenient for people. And for that, you need the mindset of being opportunistic. You see an opportunity, and then you have to go and jump and start the business. That's number two. And then number three is you have to be persistent. Your main challenge when starting up a business, and that's also your main challenge when you finish. I tell my students when you finish school, is no one knows you. So the issue is credibility. Who are you? Why should I buy from you? I don't even know your business. I don't know your business name. You have no experience. There's no track record. And so the main challenge with entrepreneurs at the beginning is credibility. People don't know them. And so you have to continuously go out there, talk to customers, sell the product, sell the service. And some people will not be sure about hiring you or actually buying your product or service. And so they may be reluctant because of that, because you have no credibility. But if you are consistent and you are persistent in what you're trying to do, then you will find success. So those three things are really important in a concept called POP, called being passionate, opportunistic, and of course, persistence. So point number two.
Yeah, I'm just going to add to your number one, if I may.
Yeah.
This is so important. I remember having a business as my primary revenue source, and if I didn't have POP, I would not have lasted. I lasted 5 years. I wouldn't have lasted 5 days, because if I don't believe in my business, if I'm not passionate, my employees won't believe in my business. My customers won't believe in my business. They're gonna tell right away. Have you ever been served by, even at a restaurant where the server doesn't want to be there? You can sense it. You can tell that they don't want to be there, and it just kind of ruins the environment of the customer's experience. And what I've noticed in Japan is excellent customer service. So it really helps with my experience as a customer, and I want to give them money, and I'm happy to come back. So it's really key to have this POP. So the one, just last thought on number one is the opportunistic part of POP is essential. And we were talking many discussions this week about positive psychology and the importance of being positive in business, and how do we get that integrated into our leadership and management strategy. Here's something just to remember. There's a lot of 7-Elevens in Japan. 7-Eleven, the store. Okay, so there's a lot of 7-Eleven, and in Canada too, in the States. But 7-Eleven, I always remember this. A problem, and this is up close with passion as well. Problem, if you count the words of problem out there, so problem like negativity, or a challenge or an issue, it has 7 letters. So problems, when you wake up in the morning and you don't want to go in and start your business plan or start your business or talk to that customer, often to try to get you through that, if you can find a solution, it will create an opportunity. And if you count the words in opportunity, guess what? It's 11 words. So 7-11, just a way to remember it. Problem always equals an opportunity. So every day we're going to have challenges, problems, but often these problems turn into opportunities for entrepreneurs. And we'll give you some more examples too later. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, good.
So number 2.
Yeah. Can I start that?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
sorry.
yeah. So, yeah, this is determining your strengths and weaknesses. And, you know, for yourself, you need to look at what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. And for your business, the business idea that you have, thinking about the strengths of the business and also the weaknesses is very, very key. So, for example, I will tell you my weaknesses. I'm not a manager that can work in a business. So I like to start a business because that's my strength. But my weakness is being a manager Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. I can't do that. I get bored and my energy goes down. And so that's why I like teaching, because I don't have to go and work in my businesses. I like to start the business, hire people, and then I pull myself out. So I need to understand, like Socrates says, you have to know yourself, know thyself. And I know that that's not me. So there's no point in me trying to improve a lot of the management stuff for myself when I know I don't like it. Because if that's a weakness of mine and I keep on trying to improve it, at the end of the day, I'll have a very strong weakness. And so I like to focus on what I like to do best. Things I'm passionate about, like to do best, and so on. And sometimes I go into the business and the business is operating better than when I'm there, and I like that. So it's like the employees say, "Okay, bye, Chris. Everything's good." I'm like, "Okay, good, bye." And then I leave, and then I go out and I do other things. I play music, I teach, and come up with other business ideas. I like to start up a business, and that's my strength. My weakness is being like a manager. So I hire managers. I give them bonuses, and make sure that they run the business doing well. And then I could travel around, come to Japan. And while the businesses are running.
That reminds me of a book we both refer to in our business courses called The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. And I could send the name to document that if you want to reference. But the author speaks about every entrepreneur needs to have 3 personalities for it to function. So 3 hats. Think about 3 hats. You need to be a dreamer, which is the entrepreneur. That's Chris, because he loves that. The dreamer, visionary, leading the company 5 years from now.
Yeah.
You're kind of in the clouds, but you need that, right? Because you need to understand where you're going in the future. So through self-reflection, Chris has determined that he is that primary, that's what keeps him happy. However, you still need to manage your businesses or business. So that's more of making sure that the business itself is functioning with the tools, the employees have the tools they need. So that's the manager personality. And then the other personality is the technician. And that's the one that just comes in and actually does the work. So in Chris's your ramen store, the cooks are the technician.
Yeah.
You have a store manager who manages those cooks and servers. And then you have Chris, the owner, the dreamer, who comes in, makes sure everything's working well. And so I really love that, just things that help me remember that idea of, you need those 3 roles. You may not love being a technician technician, manager, dreamer. Technician, manager, dreamer.
And dreamer is also entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur, yeah. It's just the terms from the author. You can change the terms to make sense of. To make better sense, but I always found that really helpful. And it helps me maybe. I don't love cutting carrots every day, maybe, or for my soup, but I know I have to do it right now. And so what I'm going to do is develop a system so that I can hire someone to do it for me at the standard that I want that to be accomplished.
So, for us in our restaurant, when we make ramen, our key time is 1 minute and 10 seconds. That's how much the noodles have to go into the hot water at a certain temperature. 1 minute and 10 seconds.
Not
And
9 seconds.
Not 9 seconds
Sorry.
or 11 seconds,
No.
it's 10 seconds. And if it's going to be for delivery, for Uber Eats, it's going to be 1 minute. So that's how we calculate the time.
Yeah.
And so that's the system. And like Professor Charlton is talking about, is that creates a system to then hire people to run those systems. And McDonald's is the best example. McDonald's says, the left pickle goes on top of the right pickle. And they're like, why not the right pickle or left? It doesn't matter. You have to do it that way. And that's the way I run my businesses, is on systems. So once I have the system down, then I hire people to run those systems. And then I could step back.
I'm good there.
Well,
Yeah. Do you want me to add more, or do you want to go to the next point?
next one.
Next point. Go ahead. Yep.
Okay, so the next point is finding a solution for a problem. So at the end of the day, you need customers, right? Customers pay. They see the product that you're selling and your service, and you need to find the solution to their problem. And so many times they have problems with pain. There's something that they don't like to do. There's something painful. So they will buy an app, they will buy a software to reduce that pain. Or maybe it's pleasure. They like something that's more pleasurable, so they buy more. So I like these coffees, so it's pleasurable, so I buy more. It's a good solution for me on the go to go buy when I'm walking to a meeting. And so those kind of products are the ones that are successful. So my recommendation is, at the end of the day, you need to find customers that could buy from you. And so to do that, you have to satisfy the needs and the wants that customers want. And it might sound very simple, but at the end of the day, that's what you have to do, is you have to satisfy that need that they have, or that want that they have. And if you can't do that, then there's no synergistic business relationship. And you might have a good product, but no customers. Or there might be customers, but your product is not good. And so you won't have a good relationship, and there won't be an exchange of money for the product being developed. So you need to be able to help you think about who exactly are those customers. And if I could just go in a little bit deeper than that, it's also understanding, for example, my daughter, she came to Japan, and she's 13 years old. And so when we drive in Ottawa, she says, "Oh, Dad, there's McDonald's. Can we go to McDonald's to buy a Happy Meal?" In that case, who's the customer, right? Me. I'm the customer, because I'm buying it, but she's the end user. She uses the product, but I buy it. See, so when you're also defining your customers, you got to find and define those customers. You need to also really understand who are the people that are actually buying from you, and who are the people that are using it. And maybe they're not the same, like me and Brianna, they're not the same. McDonald's knows that. So on their marketing, they target me, knowing that I'll buy for her. So in this point number 3, finding a problem solution, finding and defining the customers is very key. So you have a customer that'll buy from you, you have a secondary customer, and also as well too, when you guys launch a business, you're going to be aware of something called an invisible customer. An invisible customer is someone you don't know, right? So right now, if we're sitting here in this office and we're writing a business plan for a business, it's nice. This is a nice office. There's lights. It's nice and warm. It's raining outside. We're having a drink. Everything's great. But when we go outside and we actually go talk to people, we might say, "Oh, we think our customers are female between 18 to 25 years old." But then another customer comes in, and it's a female who's over 50. And she says, "I actually want that product or service." So you have to be able to change, because you think it's this market, but actually it's another market. You have to be open to an invisible customer, someone you don't know, you don't see. But how will you know? You have to get away from the office, stand up, go outside, talk to people, and that's how you will know. Because planning here is nice and warm, but we need to go out there and get traction.
I love the example of the McDonald's, and you're with your daughter's 13, and but ultimately who's paying for it, right? So it's as an entrepreneur and from a marketing perspective here, we use the term primary customers, secondary customers, tertiary customers, and so on. And sometimes, and that changes over time. So today, maybe, I'm focusing on a demographic profile of people that are aged 35 to 45. And I'm determining that I'm selling more of my product to women. And not that I will refuse men, right? It doesn't mean that you have to refuse other people outside that primary goal, but it's to understand who your best customer is, meaning, and what defines the best customer. And usually it is what they're willing to buy in your business and how much they were willing to buy. So there's a financial aspect to that consideration. You have to understand how much money do I need to support my business. So understanding and strengths and weaknesses, often we find entrepreneurs have a struggle with the financial accounting side. It's not for everybody, right? So you're either really marketing driven, or you're maybe more operationally driven and have more of a financial brain. Often hard to get both. So when I talk to my students, and I often find that financial acumen is lacking. So we discuss that as well, because it's very important to try to connect the dots to who am I building my business for? Because if you don't know that, you're not going to be able to communicate properly in a marketing poster. You won't know what colors to use. You won't know how to decor your business, because you want to get inside the brain of that 35 to or 25 to 45-year-old, or 35 to 45-year-old woman, if you've determined that is the one that was most apt to spend the most amount of money in your business. So you're not going to come over this. You're not going to come up with this overnight. It takes a lot of investigative work, observation, data collecting, historical research. But we use terms like demographics, psychographics as marketers to define what your primary customer's profile is. So you kind of you have to picture your.
That's very good. And if I could just add to what Professor Charlton was talking about with the primary customers, it's so important to understand that primary market, because it helps you to make decisions. So, for example, I'm not sure if you guys have heard of Pareto, Italian philosopher. His name is Pareto, Vincente Pareto. So he talked about something called the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
So the Italian government, they paid him to find out how many people owned the land in Italy. And he found out that 20% of the Italian population owned 80% of the land. It's called the 80-20 principle, and it applies to business, it applies to daily life, and so on. For entrepreneurs, that primary market that Professor Charlton is talking about is key. And this helps you to understand who that is, so then you can make decisions. For example, the mechanic business that we have, our market, the 20% is over 40, and they tend to be females. So our key marketing strategy to get the mechanic business, get people to use the mechanic business, has been Facebook. And specifically, there's a women's group called Moms in Barhaven, which is in an area in Ottawa, and they've been helping to promote us with the service. So we understand who they are, so we're able to service them, because there's a 20% that we have to take care of, because the other 80% of the customers, they come in, but they buy once in a while, and they're not our key customer. In my other coffee shop, there was a fellow, he would walk in maybe once every 2 weeks. He would come in and say, "Oh, I want a coffee." He buys the coffee, drinks it. "Oh, it's too hot," complains. Then 2 weeks later, buys a coffee. "Oh, too cold, not good." And was doing this, right? One day, he made my employee cry, Annabelle.
Oh, wow.
One day he made her cry. And for me, I treat my employees like number one. They're number one. And then they treat the customers like number one. So then I could come to Japan and not worry about the businesses, right? And so when he made her cry, I saw that that's not good. And I always saw him come in once in a while, buy the coffee and complain. So I went there. He was sitting there having a coffee. And I went there and I said, hi, I understand that you are complaining about the coffee. And he said, yes, one day the coffee is too hot. Next day the coffee is too cold. I don't like it. And I said, okay, well, sir, I'm sorry you don't like the coffee, but you know what? There's a Starbucks over there. There's another coffee shop over there. You can go there now. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
And I fired the customer.
Mm.
I fired them because they are the 80% of the customers that only give me 20% of my sales. They are not the 20%. They give me 80% of my revenue. The moment you start to understand and define those customers, it becomes easier as a business owner, entrepreneur, to make those decisions. And I stood up to for my employee, and she felt great.
You could use a marker to just reiterate.
Yeah.
Because for some of the audience,
Yeah.
not viewable. So if you could just write it. Okay. Thank you very much for the remark. Yep. Tashiro-san, Miss Tashiro, who is helping this event, says that. Okay.
Yeah.
So the 80%, 20% rule. If you could just, Professor Castillo.
Pareto principle.
Trade-off principle. So while he's writing,
Pareto.
okay. パレート principle、
Yeah.
パレートの原則、
Yeah.
20% の人たちが 80% 買っているとかですね。それがすべての分野であるということをパレートというイタリア人が見出したというね。Okay, so yeah, so he has, yeah,
Pareto's law.
Pareto's law. Can you see this? Photoshop, please. Snapshot. Yeah.
And there's lots of articles about
Pareto's law.
principle.
Pareto's law. All right.
Pareto's law, principle, I think.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay, so please continue with.
So key, it's just to add to try to add to that. It was excellent example. The sooner you are able to get a more of a clear picture of your primary customer, it just allows you to, as an entrepreneur, and a lot of us may be starting off as solo entrepreneurs. We're on our own. We don't have employees yet. So we want to make sure that we are focused, laser focused on the people that matter the most. Not to say we serve everybody, but we want to create, again, the things that are going to cost a lot of money for the business: signage, colors, advertising. Professor Castillo spoke about Facebook. It's a social media, popular social media platform or channel that not everybody uses, but women in a certain group, in a certain age group that they've determined are going to pay the most in my business, they use that channel. So we're going to be there.
Exactly.
There's an expression, play in your customer's sandbox. Right. So you want to be in your customer's sandbox.
Yeah.
And you need to first determine who your primary customer is. And it's a key, and it's going to save you so much money, time, stress, and help determine. Yeah. Don't be afraid to fire your customers. As Professor Castillo mentioned, sometimes you have to make that decision and say, I'm sorry, Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer. We're trying to do our best to help you, to satisfy you. It doesn't seem like we can. Please feel free to, try another business to serve your needs. So, you have to, try to find a reasonable way to work with a variety of people. So did we, do you want to move to the next one? Yeah. Is that are we on number 4? We just did number 3. Yeah. So we're on to number 4. Okay, so you want me to go, or you want to go? Yeah, you go.
Sure.
Yep.
So in Ottawa, I'm partners in a ramen restaurant. So we sell Japanese ramen, tonkotsu ramen in Japan. We were the first ramen restaurant to open in Ottawa, and we wanted to. My partner, who's Japanese, wanted to bring the flavors of ramen, where he learned in Kyushu to bring it to Ottawa to sell. And so the value proposition, it's compelling. It says, what is the value that the customer will get if they buy from you? And so for us, it's authentic Japanese ramen. It's authentic in the sense of my partner studied here in Japan how to make the ramen. And we systemize the process to be able to bring it to Ottawa. And in Ottawa, we have about 23 employees working there, but For Japanese employees, I think we have only two. The rest of the employees are Canadian, from India, Middle East, Mexican, a variety of countries. And so when Professor Charlton was talking about the E-Myth, it's about systemizing the business so anybody could go in there and fulfill the job that needs to be done in the business. And so we're very much the business is very much open and fair, especially past COVID, because we allow anybody that has a good attitude, they have good ethics, good values that align to our values, so we could create a culture. It makes it easier for us to hire them and work with them, and then our retention rate is now low because now people don't quit all the time because now they're staying with us for a longer time. And so we keep with that compelling value proposition, which is authentic Japanese experience. And so when COVID happened, when the government said close down the dining room, the atmosphere, the wooden tables, the wooden chairs, all of that was part of the experience of feeling like you are in Tokyo. And so that was taken away from us, and we were able to survive. But we're open up, and so we're doing good, and that's our compelling our message. Our value proposition is buy from us because you will have a Japanese Tokyo experience, and you're gonna have authentic flavors, tonkotsu ramen in Ottawa, and we feel that that's a really good compelling message. And because of that, during COVID, many of our neighbors, they closed down the business because the government said to close down. Many businesses closed, but we were able to do pretty good during COVID, and it's because we provide a good quality, authentic ramen experience for customers, and that's what's made us be successful during COVID.
Excellent. It's and I'm saying excellent because I'm dreaming about the ramen soup right now. It's so good.
It's my number
It's
one
delicious.
customer.
It's delicious.
He's 20%.
Yeah, I'm the no, I don't know about the 20%, but I was thinking as well of defining your value proposition and how with some models that I try to express to my students and other entrepreneurs to try to define this. What is a value proposition? I'm trying to explain, why do people want to come to me over anybody else? And as Professor Castillo mentioned, well, if I go to a Koichi Ramen in Ottawa, I am going to have an authentic experience,
Yes.
and I'm going to feel like I'm in maybe somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's giving your customer something. And he's providing that with his environment, his decor, as well as the key feature is the quality of the product, the ramen, the ingredients that go into the broth, the ingredients that go into the noodles, the ambiance. So when I say that, I can start to list features of my product or my service or the ramen restaurant. So an acronym, I like to use acronyms because I don't have a very good memory. So acronym meaning if I just write down FAB, okay, so feature, advantage, benefit. So I challenge my students in my business courses to list the features of their business. So that's usually the tangible item or the service that you are giving. Like it's a very just list what you're doing. So feature, okay, authentic noodles. Okay. If I just say, oh no, sorry, just noodles. Okay. If I say that's one ingredient in my soup, noodles. If I just list that doesn't necessarily express the value, right? I want to expand on that. Well, the advantage of coming to my restaurant and eating our noodles is that they're handmade, and we put a lot of care into the ingredients. Better ingredients, let's say, than our competition, or at least in comparison to the premium, wherever our market is. So the advantage forces me to express okay, why do they care about my noodles? The advantage is that, I put better ingredients. Okay, I'm forcing myself to explain my product. And then benefit, this is the most important part, the B. The benefit is the what's in it for my customer. So how is it going to make their life better? So noodles, so what? Advantage? Oh, they're authentic, high quality, handmade, okay? Close to a benefit. The benefit is, oh, as a customer, my customer is going to have a premium experience. It's going to be delicious. It's going to feed them. It's going to be something they're going to. It's going to make them just a little example of how I get my clients and my students to just really try to detail out what they're doing. What are they offering the customers? Why should they care about you? And you can have a feature. A feature could be a price too. It could be at a reasonable, fair price. That could be a feature. The advantage is, well, they get to save a bit of money buying a very premium quality product, very competitively priced. They make them feel a bit better, not having to spend too much money or as much money as maybe other places. So I just want to share that with you as a tool that
It's good.
I use with the value.
Fabulous.
The fabulous. Yes, it's fabulous.
Yeah. Fab 4.
Right? Fab. So 7-Eleven and Fab. Yeah, I like my acronyms.
That's good.
So 7 is once again, what's the core point about 7?
7 was
11?
the problem equals an opportunity. 7 words in problem. This is obviously in English language, so maybe it doesn't translate well to Japanese or other
7-11.
So 7-11, just a way to remember problem equals opportunity. Opportunity is 11 words. So maybe it doesn't make sense in this context.
So
with
7,
11, yeah.
7 is the
problem equals opportunity.
7文字
Because in English language, 7 words, 11 words in opportunity.
I think I remember seeing a Chinese symbol for it. It says crisis, but it's also opportunity.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Okay. Do you want to move to the plan now?
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So once we've spoken about quite a few things here. So we're kind of we're essentially saying, understand your product, understand your strengths, weaknesses. We want to be passionate about what we do. We want to know who we're serving, right? So then in a nutshell, that's what we're doing. Now we want to formalize our ideas. And we want to do that even if you've already started your business. I started my business without a business plan. Bad. I do not recommend that. I just didn't know how to do it. I just started. I found a customer and I started selling to them, and then I just slowly grew my business. Many entrepreneurs do that. There's nothing wrong with that, but it does make it harder to live a life that is probably aligned with your personal goals, because you're less organized. Essentially. So having a business plan is essential to grow your business a bit more efficiently and effectively. Okay, so what we wanted to do is just go over a model called the Business Model Canvas, BMC. And it is developed by a company called Strategizer. And they have free resources online to download this form. So maybe if we go to the next slide, I can show you the what it looks like. So this is kind of what it looks like. I'm not going to read all of this to you because it's going to take a while, but I wanted to just demonstrate that there is a framework that has 11. Is it 11?
9.
Sorry, 9 building blocks. So we call them building blocks. It's not perfect. I'm going to say this, but I like to call it the business plan on a napkin approach, because it has all the key elements of a how many pages do we have for our students do?
30 or 50 pages.
30 or 50, maybe more sometimes, 80-page business plan. You can basically get the general idea of your direction with this canvas. And then you can put it in a big 80-page business plan if you want to bring it to the bank or get that loan, or, but this is a nice kind of dashboard to make sure that you are considering the important business elements of what you do. So I'm just going to explain it, and then and as a brief overview.
Sure.
Okay.
And
Do you want to pause?
Yeah. No,
Sure?
actually,
Yeah.
it's okay because in the next slide, I got this Japanese version. この日本語訳もお付けしましたのでですね。で、ここにご自身のお名前というところに、例えば鈴木花子さん、鈴木花子さんいらっしゃいませんね。の個人的なビジネスモデルキャンバス。これは鈴木花子さん用、皆様用のということになっています。日本語訳ですね。その前のページが英語です。
Yeah, great. Thank you. And I'll be able to speed through it a little bit because we've spoken quite a bit already about some of the elements here. So we did just finish up with talking about the value proposition. So that's where you would put in your fab, and that's in the middle. So I'm starting in the middle, value provided. So that's where you put your value proposition, and that's where you're listing basically what you're selling. You're talking about your features. You're talking about how they benefit your clients. You'll notice the term stress, emotion, money. These are just points about how to get your benefits across, or describe your benefits to your customers. You're often creating a solution that addresses the problem of stress, time, and money. So that's what I meant there in those points there, just to get you thinking about how to come up with why do people want to buy from you over someone else? Well, it's faster to get my ramen over at Koichi than it is the other competitor. You have to remember you're competing for your customers' attention with other businesses, right? So it's determining that value proposition. Okay, so in the middle, I go over to my right. Should be your right as well. And the right side of the canvas is all about so what makes your customers attracted to you, and how are you going to get to them? So if you look at the bottom middle on the right, it says channels in brackets, how they know you and how you deliver. So just it's just simple language on that section. So that would be your marketing section. And that would mean, how are you going to create awareness? Are you going to use Facebook? Are you going to use another platform? Are you going to use email, social media? Are you going to go knock on doors, call people? How do you communicate with your potential customers and your current customers? This section also covers how your customer gets your product or service. Do they walk into a physical location? Do you deliver? Do you go to them? So you just outline this specifically, and that's why it has a truck. Okay. So the idea is, if I had a marker on the screen, I would draw a line from the middle. It's almost like that's the heart of your business, is your value proposition or your value provided. It's like the pulsing heart. And how are you delivering that and communicating that message to your customers? And that is the channels. You continue to the right side, which is where you would define who your customers are. So when we spoke about we already spoke about defining who your primary customer is. That's where you would put that section. So who is paying for your products? You define who your ideal customer is. Again, who is benefiting? So you're just listing, if it's businesses, well, maybe you're selling to a specific section of industry, like education, like maybe automotive. So we often like to separate customers, like for personal use, and businesses, because there's a bit of a different nuance on how you operate with an organization, versus a person that's just buying your service to benefit their personal needs or family needs. So B2C, or B2B, or sometimes both. Sometimes you have a service that caters to both. Okay. So that's where you would identify your customers. You would draw another like 2 lines from how do you interact with those customers? So that's how you the customer relationship part. You would identify and describe in detail how do you envision your either your employees or yourself interacting with your customer. It's the customer satisfaction portion of your business. What's going to make them happy doing business with you? Is it a robot coming to serve you at your table? Maybe that's going to make your customers happy. You know, like you want to describe that and how they would order from you. Maybe they use a tablet, and then the robot comes, like we had lunch yesterday, and the robot came and served our food, and that was unique, different, and it was fun, but that's very specific to the type of business you're having. If it's a consulting business, you're probably meeting at their office. You're probably maybe even meeting in a coffee shop. You would put that in there. Okay, so that's just defining that customer service aspect. And then I'm going to complete the right side. You move down to the bottom. It's not necessarily, it's in an interesting order. I know it, but this is how they developed it. The revenue section, well, that's going to be, well, how is your customer going to pay you? Very important to know, to describe, you know, maybe you're getting money up front. It's the type of business you do. Maybe you invoice, right? So what are the logistics in that process? But as well, often it's called revenue streams, this section. You also want to think about, and I'll ask Professor Castillo to jump in, how do you constantly think about different ways to generate revenue with your existing business? Are there other opportunities that you're missing? Maybe there's, from the Koichi ramen restaurant, maybe there's a catering opportunity. Maybe that's something that you progress to, or maybe you stay away from it, but at least it's a consideration. So you're looking at problems in the market and you're trying to create opportunities. See, the 7-Eleven came back. So
yeah, thank you,
Professor Castillo.
And also, just to add to that, like revenue streams is kind of like, let's say, for example, let's say, Steve, you're here, right? So let's say you want to open up a consulting company. So I would say, what are the different ways that revenue will come into your consulting company? So for me, I do one-on-one consulting, so I charge per hour. Then number 2, I do workshops. So I gather people. When I go to Dubai, we get together and I do a presentation in the Middle East like that. Number 3, they call me for keynote speaking, usually for 1 hour. For a full day event, they want me to speak for 1 hour and be a keynote speaker. That's another fee. Number 4, I have workbooks as well too that I developed, and I sell that. Number 5, maybe t-shirts or hats. Those are the different ways to bring in revenue.
Yeah. And please toggle back and forth from revenue to value provided, because value provided is really where you have to, again, if you're selling hats, well, what's so special about your hats?
Yeah.
Right. So you want to be able to, all of these boxes are interdependent.
Yes.
Right. They need to speak to each other. It's kind of an organic, it should be looked at organically. Holistically, sorry, maybe holistically is a better word.
Yeah. It's a
right?
piece. Each piece is part of the puzzle.
It's a puzzle.
Yeah.
So it's important not to get stuck in one box, and that's entrepreneurs often do that. They focus on one area only, but it doesn't make sense to the product that they're selling. Maybe their pricing strategy, which you would put in the revenue section. An example of not having this, there's a big mistake in businesses I find, where they haven't put a lot of thought into the prices they want to charge. It doesn't make sense to what they're serving. I made this mistake myself as a young entrepreneur. I had a product that was not aligned with a proper price, which actually, as a psychological marketing effect, it turned off my primary customers, or what should have been my primary customers. For example, they looked at my price and they thought, oh, that's a lower quality product. And it was a food product. I should have, if I did more research and understood my market, I would have doubled my price. Doubled. And I was charging 50% less than I should have been. right?
Yeah.
So I was doing, I thought I was helping customers because they, but I was actually doing harm to my business as well as not attracting the right people. So that's why, so for the pricing conversation is extremely important.
Yeah.
But you can only get there unless you understand and define who your customer is and how much money they're willing to pay for your product. So that's revenue. Okay, so I've handled my right side, and I like to draw kind of I think I usually draw a heart to on the right side, to kind of oh, you can't see that, to reiterate the fact that the right side of the canvas or the business plan, and for that matter, that's a bad heart. It's a bad heart. There's a nicer heart here. So the right side is all about love, right? So it's all about how do I get to my customers' emotions? That's the business. How do I get there? And how do I consider how I and often we spoke about fairness and trying to make sure that we are operating with a value-centered approach, right? So with every decision we make, we understand our value proposition, which lends to our values as well as business owners and organizations. So I like to think of Stephen Covey's work in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's another book, the great business book, one of the top seller, that talks about a lighthouse as your values. And if you're lost at sea, you look for your lighthouse. Oh yes, this is the type of business we are. We care about our people, like Professor Castillo had mentioned. We care about our employees. We respect our employees and our customers. And that kind of is communicated internally through our what we do, how we message, etc. Okay, over to the left side of the canvas. I'll try to be quick here because I'm just looking at the time. I want to make sure there's time for questions as well. We start with, I think it's, it doesn't matter where we start, but I'm just going to start with key resources. I'm looking at that. Just take account of what you have. If you're starting up your business, the categories that are suggested is, okay, well, who's going to be operating my business? That's the human category. What's your human resources looking like right now? Is it just you, me, myself, and I like to say, before you hire people? Or maybe you have a team, maybe you have partners. Well, do you have physical assets? Do you have like computers? Do you have office? Do you have chairs? Do you have equipment? Do you need equipment? Do you have a car to get to your customers? Do you need that? So just taking a inventory of what you have there. Intellectual property. Maybe that's a big part of your business. Do you need to, in Canada, that's a big problem in Canada. We need to get better at generating, protecting our ideas through patents and copyrights. And how much money do you have? Do you need money? So it's considering, again, that part of it. So the left side of the canvas, we're going to talk about operational issues. Anything to add?
Yeah, that's good. I just want to provide just a quick example of this. Let's take a look at Chiba University. So if you guys can help me, that would be great. Number one, who's the customers for Chiba University? High school students, professionals, right? People that need to upgrade their skills. See, defining who those customers on the right side is key, right? Once we have that, let's go into the value proposition. What value does Chiba provide to those students that you've identified? That's the high school students, the professional. What's the value? So you say, come to Chiba University, because when you graduate, you will get an education, a network of people, job opportunities. That's the value proposition. Oh, okay. I want to go to Chiba University because that's the value that I get for my money, right? And then channels. How does Chiba provide the service of education? Well, you have to come to Chiba's campus. Maybe there's an online class as well too. So that's another way as well too to be able to provide the channels. And then to reach the high school students, how do you find the high school students? Do they do newspaper ads? Instagram ads, or does Chiba visits
maybe.
to the campus or something? What are the different ways to be able to connect with them? And then for the customers, to get the value, how do you start now to build a relationship with them? So at Algonquin College, we have a registrar, we have people who are advisors, and they provide that connection to the students to be able to get the value that they need. If I go through Amazon.com, it's very simple. I go to Amazon.com, I put my product, I pay, done. I don't talk to anybody. But at Chiba University, call the registrar, call the advisors, and so on. And then we have the revenue streams. So at the bottom, all of that, how do you make money? Well, Chiba University charges, for example, a fee. But Chiba also is an institution. So they also get money, a revenue stream from the government. So Chiba also has to have a key relationship with that government for that revenue stream. And Algonquin College, the majority of our funding comes actually from the government. So we need to have that key relationship with them. That's the revenue side. On the left side is we have now the things that are needed to be able to provide that service. So we need to do key activities. Activity is you come to Chiba University, you sit here, and the teacher talks. So the key activity is teaching and doing exercises and proctoring exams. And those are the key activities. But to do that, you need key resources. Who are those key resources? Those are your teachers. That's your computers. That's your internet. All of those are key resources that work together. And then Chiba University has key partners. Maybe they work with industry, they work with Sony, maybe Mitsubishi, maybe Microsoft, or other software system to be able to run Chiba University. All of that, the resources, the activities, and the key partners, all of that is at cost. What is that cost? So on the right side, you need to maintain revenue. At the left side, you need to maintain cost. And if you balance the both, that would be great. Anyways, I just wanted to just provide a quick example of Chiba University to really understand this model.
That's great. No, you expressed, you did my job on the left side. You covered, and then the costs, you would, further identify this cost at the bottom left. But you did a great job of just kind of giving that example to express that left side of the canvas. The key activities is a really crucial part. That's a really important area I find with any business, is really identified.
Yeah.
And how are you going to actually build or create that value proposition that you've already determined right in the middle of the canvas? How are you going to actually make those noodles, that broth, that beautiful restaurant, maintain it? So those are, and it's always associated to, oh yeah, it's going to cost me money to do that. So it's you have more of an operational brain. So you have an operational brain on the left side, a financial brain, costs, project management, right? I remember we talked about different personalities in business. I like to think of it that way. Oh, and maybe I'm not the best. Maybe I need more help with my with my left side, operational side. So I need to find experts that can help me with that side. So you can use this canvas to kind of help with defining your strengths and weaknesses as well. But these are the key elements of a business plan. So if you build your 80-page, 100-page business plan, you can have these as your major titles. Your costs would be your income statement, balance sheet, cash flow, right? And then it also includes your sales and your budgets, and then you have your marketing plan, which is that right side, and you have that operational location strategy on the left. So it really has all the elements of a business plan, but on one paper, one page.
Yeah.
So,
It's kind of like you have to be a bird. You're flying over Tokyo, a bird, and you see the whole city of Tokyo.
Yeah.
You have to be a bird to see everything. Now that you understand the one-page bird and all the different sections of Tokyo, now you could fly in,
dive deeper
dive
in each one. Yeah.
But you have to first understand from a big picture perspective how everything kind of operates, and does it make sense? Does it bring value? And that's the whole business model value.
Yeah. I'll pause there for a second and maybe go back to the points, back to our agenda. And if there's any questions, or do you want to wait for question period? Yeah. Okay. We'll move on to regulations. Is that so that's a little quick now. The regulations, term regulations for starting a business. Chris, do you have any examples of this recently to add?
Oh, for the
Yeah.
regulations?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like, so I'm opening up another restaurant, and hopefully that'll be open in 2 weeks. It looks like it might be 3 weeks. It always happens, right? It's it's Murphy's law. He always says it's like what you think it will take times two.
Times two, yeah.
The cost times two.
Times two, yeah.
So you have to allow for these contingencies and stuff like that. So with that, I know that I need to satisfy 3 regulations when I open up the next restaurant.
Yeah.
Number 1 is the building. Make sure that the ceiling and the walls are all protected. That's number 1. Number 2, fire. So if there's a fire in this room, people need to know where's the exit sign and where's the fire extinguisher. So that's number 2. And number three would be the fridge and the freezers to keep the food cold enough. Right, and the fridge is not warm, right? So I have to satisfy those 3 regulations to be able to open up the next location, which is the next restaurant. I know that, and because I know that, I know roughly how much it'll cost and what are the steps that I need to do to be able to satisfy the government regulations to start that up. With the mechanic business, we needed to have an oil separator. So when the guys are working underneath a car and the oil falls onto the floor, it needs to go into a big hole. And it separates the water and the oil. And the government of Canada says you need to have an oil separator. And that costs about $15,000. So you need to be able to make sure you have that. We need a WSIB or like a workers' compensation and stuff like that. So these are the different regulations that, for that business, I need to know what they are.
So researching your local, municipal, there could be federal laws is essential when you're starting a business. It's maybe not the most exciting process of being an entrepreneur, but it keeps you out of jail. Keeps you. It keeps it's something we all have to deal with, and it's you can't just avoid it.
Mhm.
Now, I can maybe just bring an example from a consulting services side of business. A little bit easier in a sense because you're not dealing with it. Often it's just maybe just getting a contract with a company to offer some services. So there's less risk maybe from a health and safety perspective, but there is risk still from a legal perspective. So if, for example, if I am not careful about protecting the privacy of my client, I could be sued, in civil court from that company. So it's understanding what are my obligations as a professional in the industry I'm working in, from maybe not so much regulatory, but more from a liability, protecting my, protecting myself from legal, liabilities. So for example, I'll make sure that if I am to if I'm to obtain information that's proprietary to the client, I will make sure that is that is in a secure environment, so that if I get hacked, that I'm obligated to, I'm going to be liable for any damages that occurs from that situation. So I want to make sure the technology I'm using maybe is secure. There's agreements put in place between myself and my clients. What is the proper, what do they need? What are their policies? I need to understand their policies on how I'm to interact with their company. So those are the different considerations depending on what kind of business. Going back to the business model canvas, I would put that into the left side, right? So, whether you're talking about, an oil reservoir for a mechanic shop, you'd want to put that into your key resources. Well, that's, that physical part of your business. If you're product driven or even a services, in that case, driven type business. But you'd also want to put in, the legal aspect in that key resources. Do you have support? Do you have legal support? Do you have the understanding of the regulations to be able to operate? And often, again, this side, the left side, is going to cost you money. So it's another way to look at it, right? The left side costs you money. The right side generates money. You know, I mean, you're obviously, you can pay to generate money, but you're hoping that there's a return on that investment, right? Like more directly. So it's just maybe another way to look at the canvas too. So I'll go back to regulations, and the last one is register your business. So that's the final kind of to establish, obviously, with what the align with the laws specific to your location.
And if you notice, number 7 is register your business. And many entrepreneurs, they register the business first, and then they do the other ones for second. So I always start off with number 1, like, you know, your strengths and weaknesses, your customers. You're providing a solution to the problem. Even before we discuss registering your business, we need to have the fundamental things in place first. And then once you have that, then we can move into 6, regulation, and number 7, how to register your business. So many times people say that, and some entrepreneurs, they say to me, "Oh, Chris, I'm ready to start my business. I have my business cards." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I have my website. Okay, I have a new computer." I say, "Okay, but where's your customer?" Oh, not yet, Chris. I'm working on that. You need a customer first.
Yeah.
You need that customer first. And we're from the sales perspective, so we understand that we need the customer, right? And so once all that stuff is kind of done, we look at number 7 and we just say, how will we register the business? I was looking at some of the business structures here in Japan. They have stock for a company. They do have you can be like a business manager if you're a foreigner, but they also have LLCs as well too. So those are limited liability corporations, and they also have partnerships as well too. So my talk here, number 7, is on a bit more on the Canadian side. But when I was looking at Japan, it's again very, very similar. And Japan has a lot of incubators, Kobe and Tokyo. There's a lot of, the government is trying to help support the entrepreneurs to start up a business and so on. And so this is really, really good.
It's great,
and it's great. So I could see that they're trying to provide, support for entrepreneurs. So number 7, how will you register your business? When I started my consulting company, I started off as a sole proprietor because the risk was really low. The risk was low. And so I was able to start up the company with only just a cost of $60 to register it. That's it. And then for me, you need to know your tax situation. So after about 2 years, it was more beneficial for me to move into a corporation because then I was able to get better tax advantages from the government.
It's also liability, a separation, liability benefit as well, right?
Yeah. So there's two.
You're not personally liable under a corporation as much.
Yeah.
Right?
So there's two things. Number 1 is the tax, right? The tax consideration. You need to know the structure, the tax structure in your jurisdiction, wherever you're operating. In Japan, it might be different. Mexico might be different. Chile is different, and Canada is different. I know my tax situation, and so it was more better for me to, from a tax perspective, to start up as a sole proprietor, and then after 2 years to move to a corporation, and then that becomes much more better for me for my taxes. Now, when I opened up, like, let's say, a restaurant or mechanic business, I could just imagine. I have nightmares sometimes. A mechanic is working underneath the car, they're fixing it, and the car falls, or they fix the tire, they go test out the car, and it crashes. Right. So there's a lot of liability. So for me, sole proprietor is not the way to go. The tax consideration now becomes second. The first thing is actually what Professor Charlton talked about, which is liability. And there's more liability with mechanic business. With food, if people are drinking food or eating food, or they get sick, or they choke, the liability is much more bigger. So in Japan, you do like an LLC. In Canada, we call it a corporation. You do a federal or provincial corporation. And so right away, I went that route. Now, by the way, if you do want to do a corporation, if your business idea requires funding, so you need money, you need investors to give you money, then the LLC or the corporation is the best way to do it. You need to do 2 separate shares, common and class B. I recommend keep class A and give class B to the investors. And that'll get you the money that you need to be able to get the resources that you need to get going with your business idea. So when you're looking at those you get that also partnership as well too. So which one should you go with? Look at it from two perspectives. Number one, what's going to be the tax situation for you? Number one, and number two, what's going to be the liability? Yeah. So with my mechanic business, I usually take bonuses. That's how I compensate myself. With the ramen, Gucci ramen, I always pay myself in dividends. That's how I make money, right? In my consulting company, usually I pay myself a salary. So I'm able to best plan out my taxes based on my current situation, which is different from you and everyone else. You have your own situation. So you need those professionals that are in accounting to help you decide which one is best and what's the best strategy for you to be able to register your business to make it legal.
Yeah, excellent. And I love those examples, Chris. I'm thinking about the left side again of the canvas, maybe listing in the key partner side, that would be a good section to list out. Okay, from a legal perspective, who can I reach out to? Maybe there's a incubator or government resource that I can reach out where there's legal experts, tax experts, organizations. Maybe it's my school that I just graduated from. Maybe they have people that can help me with setting up my business. And this is a constant. The laws change year over year, so you want to make sure you're keeping up with the new regulations. I know I have a tax professional who helps me with my consulting business revenue, and then the revenue I would get from my employer. So I love your examples of the different, the mechanic, the restaurant, and the consulting, because yes, it's going to be different depending on what you're doing and what region you're operating your business into. So unfortunately, we can't give you a straight answer in a session like this. It's very determinant on what you're selling, where you're selling it, who you're selling it to, and the size of your business as well. But I think from just hopefully you can remember that two key points: liability, and taxes. So it's it's going to determine often the route you're going to take with that side. So with that, I think we have concluded our 7 points. And hopefully, and then we can maybe discuss, what these are very practical points, but we also wanted to address maybe a few elements of fairness. And do you have some examples? So you can share.
Sure, for sure. Like for example, like for example, like in the restaurant, we have about 23 people working, and we don't really start to look at who's going to start working for us in terms of like characteristic. We look at the people that could provide good results, the people that have good values and they mesh with our values, so we can create a good culture. And so we try to make it as fair as possible to be able to give people an opportunity to go and work in my business. And so I don't want people to feel like, oh, I have to be a woman. Oh, I have to be a man. I have to be young. I have to be old. I don't want people to feel like that. If you could produce results, you are able to work in a team, have a good attitude, some good values. These are the things that I look for. And that's how we are able to create a good, fair culture in the business, and it gives an opportunity to everybody. And that's on the employee side, and on the customer side, it's the same thing as well too. We sell to anybody that we feel is our primary customer, our secondary customer, and so we don't discriminate on that. And if some customers do need assistance with accessibility, maybe they need help with maybe translation, or maybe they can't physically go to the business, they need online assistance, we also make that available as well too, to be able to help them. So from whenever we're working with people, we're always looking at it from a fairness perspective, especially after COVID and everything that people have gone through. There's been a lot of people feeling like, what's happening? What's going to happen? Will I get sick? Will I get COVID? Will that affect my work? And we want people to feel like it will be okay. And during COVID, we never fired anybody. We did not fire anybody. And even though the government said close down the business and only do delivery, so then there's no spread of COVID. I said to the workers, I said, please, can you create new products, innovate, create change? Can you improve the processes that we used we used to operate the business? Can we do deep cleaning, organizing things, make the business more efficient? And I'm happy to say that the 23 employees that we had, we never laid off anybody. We never fired anybody. And I'm just trying to create value. I'm trying to figure out how I can make it a fair working environment for everybody. But being an entrepreneur, it means also that, you know, like I would go to sleep at night thinking, what's going to happen tomorrow? Every day, what's going to happen tomorrow? And I didn't know. And entrepreneurs and business owners, they do not know what was going to happen. Change is too fast. It becomes, you know, it's fearful for people. But you have to be a leader. And if you're in a family, you have to be a leader. And if you have a brother or a sister, you have to be the leader. Even though inside you don't know, you don't feel very confident, but that's okay. You have to show confidence. And so to do that, what I did is I went outside and I went for a walk. And I was walking specifically where trees are, because trees, they have leaves and branches. And like inside here, we have squares, rectangulars, circles. So it's a very artificial kind of like setting. So walking outside helps the brain process things much more faster using your neurons when you're in another environment like nature. That's why nature is so key. I went there, I thought about, okay, what do I have to do? What can we do? And I just have to take it day by day. And it reminded me of Chile. When I was in Chile, every day, day by day, I can't think about next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 weeks. No. I have to think today. How can we survive today and make sure that we're okay? For that, you have to be a leader, and for that, it's hard. And I'm telling you now, it is hard, especially when you have a big payroll, you have rent, and are you going to make the payment next week? I don't know. But you have to be a leader, and that's what entrepreneurship is about being a leader.
I love your analogy of getting out of your office, or, you know, the artificial setting, getting into nature. I think we forget that often in our business, school of business mindsets, or you know, I can speak for myself. When you were speaking, I thought of culture, developing a culture of that's value centered. So you determine a kind of a belief system within your organization. You try to live with those values and express them and be consistent with them. You hire based on those values that you determine that you want a place of inclusivity, diversity. You want everybody to feel like they're part of the business. You know, I'm going to speak for you a bit because we do a lot of discussions around business between the two of us, and I'm very impressed with Professor Castillo's people strategy. So when you understand, you know, and that's that left side of the BMC under human, you want to make sure that you're taking into account that you have human beings that are dependent on the business to work. And also they need to feel good about coming to work. And so when you dissect that, you know, you'll have to ask yourself, are they being compensated fairly? Are they being treated fairly from a business perspective? Oh, did we we're good? We're still good. And I, you know, model at let's take your ramen restaurant where employees have the opportunity to work towards owning their own franchise. So Chris has a franchise plan and pathway for employees to become owners, and that is part of your growth strategy. So you address the fairness of working in an organization from an opportunity perspective, because you're creating an opportunity for that person to elevate their option, and not just and you're not forcing them to, but you're giving them options. So, when we think about fairness, it's the haves and the have-nots. How do we bridge the gap between the people that have wealth and freedom and, maybe more opportunity than the ones that don't? That's the way I look at fairness. And it's understanding that, there is a bridge there that, perhaps you can provide the ones that don't have as much as you to be able to get a bit more. And as leaders in business, it becomes, and in education, it becomes more and more important in this world to make sure that we're focusing on not just increasing the gap, but trying to decrease that gap as best we can. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. And also as well too, just to add to that, we also have money set aside in the bank. So then some of the employees that would like to start up their own business, but maybe they don't have the financial backing to do it. I want to be able to say we could provide a loan, we could provide support, financial support to help them start up a business. And that is creating more of a fair society, because some people have a lot of money to open up a business, but some people don't. But if they have the passion, if they're opportunistic, they're persistent, they have good values, they share our vision, I want to be able to have money to be able to support those people that don't have the money to start up their own business. And that creates a fair society.
So I'm glad you brought the money side up, because again, I would put that into my operational strategy. It's something unique to this business. Not every business will do this. Create a reserve in their accounting. Many organizations, big organizations, will have reserve funds for a rainy day, for when emergencies happen. It's not often you see small businesses have that reserve fund as part of their business. They may use those reserves personally as an owner, but they don't put it back into the business. So that is really a very good best practice, and it gives that business the opportunity to compete and be better than their competition from an internal perspective, hiring and attracting the best talent that's in the market, as well as it should translate well to the customer side too. So how are we doing? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
How are we doing? A break? Maybe check in or the audience?
Yeah, I go to the audience.
Yeah. Any questions or comments or thoughts out there? I'm just looking at the time.
Yeah.
I think we've covered our key points.
Thank you very much. So thank you so much, the two professors. So after their detailed, easy to understand, lecture talk, please, it's your turn to speak to the microphone or type into the chat line. So in either way, please ask any questions. We've got like 20 plus minutes. So your questions to the professors, please, just anything about your business or about, Thank you so much for your participation. Any idea or observation or question that you might have? Okay, the Professor Kawase, please.
Yeah, thank you. May I ask a question?
Thank you very much.
Right. So, do you hear me?
So Professor Kawase.
Do you hear me?
Okay, and then maybe later, okay, Ms. Sami Won. So Professor Kawase and then Ms. Sami Won, please. One by one.
All right. Do you hear me?
Sure.
Okay. So thank you very much. And I have a question about the spirit or mentality of entrepreneurship in Canada. All right.
So we can hear you.
Yeah. All right. When this pandemic started, a lot of people said the COVID must change our society irreversibly. That is a point I often say. But so that COVID make our society going beyond the point of no return. So, and that means irreversible. And for example, they say the society will shrink and downsizing, and it will be very difficult to start a new business after Corona because our mentality will change completely. But I think our basic philosophy, basic ethos of the modern society, the modern world, that is the spirit of the entrepreneurship, taking risk and start new business and start new adventure will never perish, never change, in my opinion. So, and my question is, how about in Canada? Do people change their mentality about starting something new? So becoming, and do people in Canada become, for example, afraid of starting new business, taking risk more than before Corona? So probably people became a little bit conservative during pandemic, but I think the basic mentality will never change in the modern society, in my opinion. But how about in Canada? The spirit of entrepreneurship change or not? I hope no. But how about in Canada? This is my question. Thank you.
I want you to take that one.
Yeah,
Great question.
it's a great question. So thank you for that.
Excuse me, the
There's
voice
an
is
echo here.
a little bit
Okay.
Right, there we go.
echoing.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, I want to just write this down. It's so important. We did a bit of a campus tour yesterday. We were looking at science, and we were talking about the Earth and how it's changing, that kind of stuff. And like, I just want to just say this here. Like, at the end of the day, this is it. This is all. It's change. Everything is changing. And so we just have to, we go with it. And so entrepreneurs, I teach them that that change will happen, and actually take initiative to make the change happen. We need to be proactive to go and make the change. And so after COVID, there has been a lot of fear that maybe people will not be buying things. Supply chain became more expensive. Raw materials became more expensive. And so, and then wages had to go up as well too. And so now things are much more expensive from an economic perspective. But that's change. And whenever there's a change, you could look at it as a problem or as an opportunity. And so when I do teaching with the students, I just say the COVID has provided lots of change. And this is good. Now what can we do to start up a business and fulfill our dreams, to provide a very good product and to be able to provide a very good service? And so embracing change, I believe, is very good. And even just being here in Japan, I can see very much that change needs to happen as well too. Many people, they go to school and then they work for 14 years in a career, and then maybe they'll retire. But change is coming, and more young people are going to start to look at entrepreneurship as a way to bring about change where they could start up a business. And that change, people are, if they're able to embrace it, they're going to see opportunities everywhere. So right now, Japan has entered, as of 2 weeks ago, into a recession. And in Canada, things are slowing down as well too. But you know what? That creates opportunities because rent now is cheaper. And when we placed an ad for hiring people, we don't have to pay as much either, because there's more people, more resources available to be able to do business. And so the general mentality that I kind of teach is that change is going to happen. But let's be proactive and embrace it and actually initiate some of that change. And whenever there's a COVID or another pandemic that might happen, let's just continue on and let's move forward, and let's be bold. Bold means you have courage. You have courage to take on these challenges that are maybe scary. Maybe it is scary and challenging because it's change, but change will happen, and we just have to embrace it as entrepreneurs.
Thank you very much. And
I'll just add one word.
We have
That's
a lot of change.
Intrapreneur. So
Yeah.
intra instead of intra, meaning, we speak about to our students, you may not but you will always be an entrepreneur, even working for an organization.
Yeah.
Meaning you have to innovate to make sure that you are moving ahead with your role. So you use entrepreneurial skills in any situation.
Yeah.
So I think more than ever, entrepreneurship becomes more important in challenging times. And also through what we're going through right now altogether in a process of, very complex environments and constant change. So I just wanted to add that point.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's it. And
Yes,
and
yeah.
even the change, like for example, like like just being here in Japan for the past 2 days, I could see, very much the society is very much about, social happiness, social collectivism, right? But entrepreneurship is also individualistic as well too, because it talks about you being, doing your own business, and you break away from the construct of go to school, you work for a job for like 15 years, then you retire, and you get away from that. And so if you embrace change, that means then that that now you could do something and you could have a positive or you could have a negative result. And I think what happens is that in a society within like Japan, people are afraid to fail, because then it becomes, well, what will people, my friends, my family, what will people think of me, right? And there could be a bit of maybe shame with that. But
it's very similar to Canada too, though. Like that prevents a lot of entrepreneurs from starting. Is the fear of failure, the fear, what will other people think? It goes back to point number one. You have to have that number one pop mentality and be very passionate about your concept to try to persevere and be resilient.
That's it. And if you have that pop, then you will move forward and you will embrace change. And even though society might not like it or might is not used to it, you still need to move forward with that change. And now I'm seeing more entrepreneurship incubators in Japan. So that means that the change is coming. And so this is really good. So let's embrace it. And let's encourage entrepreneurship, as Professor Charlton said, not only in your own business, but maybe in your own career, in your own work that you're at. Can you improve the process? Can you improve the process in your work environment? Can you introduce a new product, a new service that helps your job become much more better? Now you are providing change and you're becoming very valuable as an employee, and your value proposition now increases. And if it increases, then usually your pay will increase because you provide more value.
Okay, thank you very much. So we got two more questions. One from Ms. Sami Won. So, and then, Dr. Alfonso has got a written question. So I wish to read it out later. So Ms. Sami Won, please. Thank you so much for your participation.
Thank you. So thank you, Professor Charlton and Professor Castillo, for such a great lecture. And I think all these principles that you have shared, especially with the 7 ones, I think they are very important and fundamental. I do have a question because I'm actually a co-founder of a research and consulting business, and I'm based in Beijing. And I work mostly with Asia Pacific clients from Asia Pacific and European clients. So one of the hot topics that we have been discussed is about consumer confidence and also the topic about sustainability. So I'm just quite curious, in Canada, what are these topics about consumer confidence and sustainability that really affects the entrepreneurship that you have noticed, the trend, the culture?
Comments. So from a consumer confidence perspective, we're going through an economic, looking into a recession following, many other countries. So there's a confidence factor from a price perspective and a cost perspective, I can say, is that consumers are being more mindful of what they're spending. They're looking at what they're spending. There's an expression called, we're tightening our belts. Tightening the belts is an expression that's being used often now. So there was initially it was supply chain that was a big issue. We still had quite a bit of money to spend during COVID, a certain section did of consumers, because many were saving money actually, by not having to travel into work, and they weren't buying clothes because they didn't have to go out as much, et cetera, et cetera. But now post-COVID, now with an economic situation of higher prices, grocery prices, restaurant prices, especially in Canada, we are seeing consumers are getting a little bit more picky on how they spend their discretionary income. So that's just one trend that comes to mind. And I think that translates to many things as well. As I know I'm being a bit more particular on the type of service and quality of products that I get with the money that I'm spending. So that's going to translate, I think, more towards an attention, businesses will need to make sure they're paying attention to the customer service aspect of what they're doing. So that's the confidence one, and then the other one was the consumer comp and the sustainability piece. I mean, that's an ongoing. Canada is an ongoing, definitely issue. It politically, the priorities are more towards the economy right now. I think generally we were having discussions this week. Canada has a long way to go towards, as a country, doing much better with sustainability. We are a big country geographically with very few people. We only have 40 million. Is it 40-ish million in the country? It's not a big population, so I think we are a bit more wasteful per capita than many countries. So we have a long way to go from a sustainability perspective. Obviously, there's been progress there with lowering emissions and generally with more regulations and effort towards sustainable building and living and waste from an environmental perspective. So those are the couple points that I have. Chris, anything to add?
Yeah, and I think that's a very good point that you had raised. The thing I want to just say about the consumer confidence as well too is that it's kind of like I've seen people they're still buying, but like Professor Charlton said, they're being a bit more discriminatory with their spending. But even this morning we were having breakfast, and you could see on my phone I was getting orders and orders for the food, and so people say, wait a minute, Chris, the economy is not too good. How come you're doing too good? And I'm like, because you provide a good product or service.
Just to explain a bit further. Chris has it set up so that when someone buys something in his restaurant, he gets an alert on his phone.
Yeah.
So I was laughing. I said, what's going on? Oh, these are people spending money in my business. So weird. If you have, and I could say that, that's anyway. So I just want to explain.
That's good. That's good. And so what I'm trying to say is that my economy is 100% in my business. My economy is my 100%. And so I try to provide the best value in terms of product and service and customer experience, and treat the employees as number one, and be open to that change. If I need to change that product, that service, the delivery, the business model, if I need to change that, then I'm able to stay ahead of what everyone else is doing. And because of that, I have lineups out the door, even though people are saying, oh, wait a minute, Chris, it's, things are decreasing. Well, go look outside my door.
So sorry, just to add to that, I think the maybe from an economic perspective or a broader perspective, well, what does that mean for a market? I'm predicting, and I don't know if you agree or disagree, but this is just my opinion, is businesses that are better organized, have a more clear, defined value proposition to that customer, are going to be the ones that are going to continue to thrive, because there's going to be less competition, less choice for customers, because the companies post-COVID that did not pay attention are the ones that are going to be closing their doors.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we had a lot of money that was spent through CERB that's the acronym for the emergency fund in our country, towards post-COVID. That money had to be returned this year. So many businesses, I think, are going to continue to shut their doors, small businesses, that were not paying attention to having a reserve fund, having value proposition that aligned with that customer. So, it becomes a context conversation, doesn't it? That, yes, businesses will suffer, but we need to maybe further think about what are the businesses that are suffering? Do they deserve to be suffering in a sense? Have they been complacent with how they've operated their business? Have they been able to change and be agile to align with the current economic situation? So, I mean, I think it becomes a much further conversation, maybe another event.
Yeah, but US customers and Canadian customers, I still feel that they are still spending. I still feel like there's lots of opportunities. And so we're just moving forward with that. And at the end of the day, change is going to happen, but we just have to adapt and make the best of it. But there's a lot of opportunities in those changes.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Okay, so can I then move on? Okay, of course we can keep talking on this very important topic. Okay, so from Dr. Alfonso. Okay, so first of all, thank you for the invitation. Okay, yeah. So I hope that all of you are doing very well. I'm very interested in NGOs and governmental institutions efficiency, mainly because they can be linked to creating. Yeah, so maybe Dr. Alfonso, you can speak just a little bit.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, first of all, for your invitation. Do you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay. And thank you, Dr. Castillo and Charlton, for your detailed and interesting presentation. This topic is not of my baggage, so it was very interesting. Mainly, I work with NGOs and governmental institutions efficiency. So I think that the elements in your model can be very useful, like to these organizations to be more efficient, maybe since recognizing the needs of customers, maintaining quality and other characteristics you spoke about. So have you experienced working with these kinds of organizations using your model or some of its elements? If that's the case, could you speak about a successful case in which NGOs or governmental institutions have incorporated the logics of entrepreneurship to be successful? And what should we be aware when we incorporate these entrepreneurial logics in these organizations?
And I think, if you mind, so we do have a section at the college that is focused on sustainability and social initiatives. There is a canvas, actually, a business model canvas that we displayed that is specifically for nonprofit, that is created. It's got, I don't think it has 11, it might have more, maybe 15 different headings, but it's the same idea. It's very transferable. Every organization, whether you're for-profit, nonprofit, NGO, needs to deliver something. So you just have to alter the language to appeal to your organizational goals. So maybe it's every organization needs partners, for example, needs collaboration. So that would stay the same. The operational side often stays the same. The revenue side maybe changes a little bit from a profit perspective, but the ultimate goal here is to build an organization that functions and that appeals to the stakeholders that you've promised to deliver on. So I think the quick answer is yes, the model is transferable, whether you are an organization that is a profit generated or not. I don't know if that addresses your question appropriately. I don't know if
yeah. And also just to quickly add as well too, I am the chairperson for charity in Ottawa. It's called UCI, United Citizens Initiative. And so it's really about helping to a society to understand the different religions and the positiveness and of all the different religions. And it's good for people to understand, for example, Islam, or to understand like Buddhism and the positiveness of that. So it's called UCI. It's a charity. It's registered in Canada. What on that business model, one of the things that we've been challenged with is government funding for charities has actually decreased. And the reason being is because most of that funding has now gone to support Ukraine. And so now, as we look at the business model canvas, we're looking specifically at the revenue streams that we could increase to be able to bring in more revenue into the charity and meet the costs that we have to be able to keep it sustainable. Right. And so on that business model, like Professor Charlton is talking about, it all works really good to create that efficiency. Right. And but lately, we've been specifically focused on the revenue streams and looking at the different ways to create income to be able to provide the support of the cost that we have as a charity, because the Canadian government has reduced funding because it's been going to support Ukraine, for example. But that model is really relevant, like Professor Charlton talked about, for profit, nonprofit, for charity. And I use that model even for our charity that I'm a chairperson in.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
There's a lot of demand for, especially I'm going to speak, I'm biased on the sales perspective and marketing perspective. There is a lot of demand now for sales skills within the NGO nonprofit space for that reason. So thank you for your question.
Muchas gracias.
No.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got 2 minutes, and then coming to the close. So in part of our seminar, so I noticed that our project leader, Professor Mizushima, is viewing. So if you could, sorry to ask you at this point, but if you could, make a few remarks, please.
Oh, hello. Do you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Today, thank you to professors. We are quite delighted to have a chance to hear your lectures, and it was quite insightful also for scholars. I think that the important point that Professor Castillo said to us, we have to be a dreamer and manager, and at the same time a technician. I think that same can be said to become a successful scholar, because to write a dissertation or valuable articles, we have to you have to have a vision, and we have to manage the documents, and then we have to construct an article. So we have to combine the 3 elements in one person.
3 different people.
So that's quite a hard task, I think. Anyway, your lectures are quite suggestive, also for scholars at Chiba University, and I would like to tell about it to graduate students. You have to combine 3 elements if you want to be a successful scholar. Thank you. Anyway, thank you all of your lectures.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you again for all your hospitality. And one last maybe thing I wanted to remind everybody of: if you forget everything that we've spoken about today, as a memory, maybe a memory aid, if we want to go get a pop, which is a soda for us, pop, you can go to 7-Eleven and you can buy your pop, and it will be fabulous.
Amazing.
Be fabulous, right? So, and these are some of the things we spoke about today, right? The pop, positive, opportunistic, and persistent. 7-Eleven is 7 is problem, opportunity, 11 words, 7 words in problem equals opportunity, and fab is feature, advantage, benefit, right? So pop, 7-Eleven, fab.
There we go.
Okay, everyone, pop, 7-Eleven, and fab. So that's the main point of today's discussion for realizing, your value-based and flourishing business in this, post-COVID society. fairness is very important. But and then human to human, heart component is also very, very important.
Yes.
But it shouldn't be just about heart, because they were talking that profit making is quite important.
Oh, yeah.
Profit is not a dirty word.
Right, exactly.
Money is not a dirty word.
No.
For
You have to keep the
our
lights on.
yeah. Somebody has to keep the lights on. Otherwise, it will be completely in
Yeah,
darkness.
we can't help other people.
Yeah, we cannot help other people. Business sustainability is
Yeah.
also very important.
Mm.
In addition to environmental sustainability, right? In our fair society.
Anyway, we have to
Thank you so much
make
for today's discussion. Our time is very limited, and I really wanted to take more questions and comments, but that is it. Time is up. And then thank you so much. And then Professor Castillo, thank you so much, Ms. Won. Professor Castillo and Professor Patrick Charlton will be back in Canada. So if you have the chance to visit Canada, especially Ottawa area,
Yes,
you can see them in Algonquin College. Please Google search their names and then reach out to them or contact Chiba University if you would like to continue with discussion. Yes, they are the best entrepreneur from a teacher's side and also from service provider's side, restaurant side, etc. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Isaac Penn, for your remark. Thank you so much. Right, so that's it. Time is up. So let's close today's session. Thank you very much. That's it. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Arigato.
ありがとうございました。Thank you so much. Yep, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Dr. Alfonso. Yeah, see you next
Thank
time.
you.
We'll be having another occasion like this. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.